Hello, beautiful soul. I want you to know that you being here right now, in this moment, is no accident. There's something deep within you that's calling for change, calling for healing, calling for a new way of being in this world. And that voice, that gentle whisper from your heart, has guided you exactly where you need to be. I know life hasn't always been easy for you. There have been mornings when you've looked in the mirror and the reflection staring back seemed like a stranger, someone carrying wounds you never asked for, someone weighed down by thoughts that feel too heavy to bear. There have been days when you've felt stuck in patterns that no longer serve you, repeating the same old stories about who you are and what you're capable of. The voice in your head might be telling you that you're not enough, that you don't deserve good things, or that change is too hard and too late. But sweet one, what if I told you that everything could shift with something so simple, so gentle, that you might not believe it at first? What if the key to unlocking the magic in your life was sitting right there in your hands, waiting for you to pick up a pen and paper? Not a computer, not a phone, but the simple, sacred act of putting pen to paper and allowing something beautiful to flow through you. You see, I've spent decades working with people just like you, people who felt broken, people who thought they were beyond healing, people who had given up on the possibility that life could be different. And time again, I've witnessed the most extraordinary transformations happen through the smallest, most humble practices. This isn't about complicated rituals or expensive courses or needing to become someone you're not. This is about returning to something so basic, so natural, that we often overlook its profound power. The practice I want to share with you today has changed thousands of lives. It's helped people who thought they were unlovable discover their own worth. It's opened doors for those who felt stuck in lack and limitation. It's brought healing to bodies that had forgotten how to feel good, and it's restored hope to hearts that had forgotten how to dream. And the most beautiful part? It takes less than 5 minutes a day. You don't need to be spiritual to make this work. You don't need to believe in anything magical or mystical. You don't need to have your life figured out or be in a perfect place to begin. All you need is an open heart and the willingness to try something new. Because right now, in this very moment, you have everything within you to create the life you've been longing for. The power has always been there, waiting patiently for you to recognize it and use it. As we journey together today, I want you to feel completely safe to be exactly where you are. There's no judgment here, no pressure to be anything other than yourself. Whether you're someone who's tried everything and nothing has worked, or whether you're just beginning to explore the idea that your thoughts create your reality, you belong here. Your story matters, your healing matters, and your dreams matter more than you might believe right now. So breathe with me for a moment. Let your shoulders soften. Let your heart open just a little bit more. Because what we're about to explore together isn't just about writing something down 10 times a day. It's about remembering who you really are beneath all the stories, all the hurt, all the limiting beliefs that have been covering up your true magnificence like clouds covering the sun. The sun is always there, always shining, just waiting for the clouds to clear. Many years ago, I found myself in one of the darkest periods of my life. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about healing, about the power of positive thinking, was being challenged in ways I never expected. I had been teaching people about affirmations and self-love for years, but there I was, facing my own deep crisis of faith in everything I believed. It was during this time that I stumbled upon something that would change not just my life, but the lives of countless others I would have the privilege to work with. I was sitting at my kitchen table one morning, feeling lost and uncertain, when I reached for a simple notebook, nothing fancy, just a regular spiral-bound notebook that had been sitting there for weeks. Something inside me felt compelled to write, not because I had any grand plan, but because I needed to do something with the overwhelming feelings that were churning inside me. At first, I didn't know what to write. The usual affirmations I had been saying for years felt empty, like words without feeling behind them. But then, almost without thinking, I found myself writing the same phrase over and over again. It wasn't planned. It wasn't from any book I had read or any technique I had learned. It was just this pure, simple statement that seemed to flow from some deeper place within me. As I wrote this phrase the first time, something shifted. By the third time, I could feel a warmth spreading through my chest. By the seventh time, tears were flowing down my cheeks, not tears of sadness, but tears of recognition, as if I was meeting myself for the very first time. And by the 10th time, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: hope. I wish I could say that everything changed overnight, but that wouldn't be honest. What I can tell you is that something fundamental shifted in that moment. It was as if I had found a key that unlocked a door I didn't even know existed. The practice was so simple that part of me wanted to dismiss it, to think it was too easy to be real. But the feeling in my body, the shift in my energy, the gentle opening in my heart, those were undeniable. Day after day, I returned to that same kitchen table with my simple notebook. Some mornings I felt like writing, other mornings I didn't want to get out of bed, but I had made a commitment to myself to try this for 30 days, to see what would happen if I just showed up consistently with this one small practice. What unfolded over those 30 days was nothing short of miraculous. Not because anything dramatic happened externally, but because everything shifted internally. The words I was writing began to feel less like words and more like medicine. Each time I put pen to paper, it was as if I was having a conversation with the wisest, most loving part of myself. The practice became a bridge between the scared, wounded parts of me and the strong, whole parts that had always been there, just waiting to be remembered. I wasn't just writing words on paper. I was literally rewiring the pathways in my mind, creating new grooves for love and acceptance to flow. Friends and family began to notice changes. There was something different in my eyes, something lighter in my step. When people asked what I was doing differently, I almost felt embarrassed to tell them. How do you explain that writing 10 simple words has become the most powerful part of your day? How do you share that this humble practice has become your daily dose of self-love, your morning vitamin for the soul? But as I began to share this practice with clients and eventually with larger groups, I witnessed the same transformation happening over and over again. People who had tried every therapy, read every self-help book, attended every workshop were finding healing through this beautifully simple daily ritual. It didn't matter if they were dealing with anxiety, depression, relationship issues, money problems, or health challenges. This practice seemed to address something fundamental beneath all of those surface issues. The magic wasn't in the specific words themselves, though the words were important. The magic was in the act of consciously choosing to love themselves enough to show up each day with intention. It was in the repetition that allowed new neural pathways to form. It was in the hand-to-heart connection that happened when pen met paper. And it was in the courage to believe that they were worthy of feeling good, even when everything in their external world seemed to suggest otherwise. Now you might be wondering what makes writing something down so different from just thinking it or saying it out loud. This is such a beautiful question, and understanding the answer will help you appreciate why this practice is so much more powerful than it might seem on the surface. When you think a thought, it travels through your brain in one way. When you speak that same thought out loud, it engages different areas of your mind and adds the vibration of your voice. But when you write that thought by hand, something extraordinary happens. You're engaging your brain, your body, and your energy field in a completely integrated way that creates lasting change at the cellular level. Your hand is connected to your heart in ways that science is just beginning to understand. When you write by hand, you're activating neural pathways that don't get stimulated when you type or speak. There's a direct line of communication that flows from your heart, through your arm, into your hand, and onto the paper. This isn't just poetic language. This is how your nervous system actually works. The physical act of forming letters connects you to the intention behind the words in a way that bypasses the analytical mind and speaks directly to the subconscious. Your subconscious mind, which controls about 95% of your daily thoughts and behaviors, learns through repetition and feeling. When you write something by hand, you're not just engaging your logical mind, you're speaking the language that your subconscious understands. Each stroke of the pen is like a gentle knock on the door of your deeper awareness, asking it to pay attention to this new information you're providing. But why 10 times? Why not 5 or 15 or 20? Through years of working with this practice, both personally and with thousands of others, I've discovered that 10 repetitions creates the perfect balance between effort and ease. It's enough repetitions to move past the initial resistance your mind might have to new information, but not so many that the practice becomes mechanical or loses its feeling. The first few repetitions usually meet some resistance. Your mind might say, "This is silly," or "This isn't true," or "This isn't going to work." This is completely normal and actually a good sign. It means you're reaching the edges of your current belief system. By the middle repetitions, something begins to soften. Your nervous system starts to relax into the rhythm of the practice. And by the final repetitions, you're often in a completely different state than when you began. More open, more receptive, more connected to the truth of what you're writing. This process happens because your brain is incredibly adaptable. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new neural connections throughout your life. Every time you repeat a thought, feeling, or action, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with it. When you write something positive about yourself 10 times, you're literally creating new pathways in your brain that support self-love and acceptance. Your body is also involved in this transformation in ways you might not expect. When you write words of love and appreciation, your nervous system receives these messages and begins to shift from a state of stress and protection to a state of ease and receptivity. Your heart rate often slows down, your breathing deepens, and your muscles relax. This isn't just because writing is calming, it's because your body is receiving the message that it's safe to let down its guard and allow good things in. The hand-to-heart connection is particularly powerful for people who have experienced trauma or who have difficulty trusting their own inner voice. When you've been hurt, it's natural for your system to become hypervigilant, always scanning for danger, always ready to protect. But this gentle practice of writing loving words sends a different message to your nervous system. It says, it's safe to be kind to yourself. It's safe to believe good things about yourself. It's safe to relax and receive love. This is why the practice often brings up emotions, especially in the beginning. You're not just writing words, you're rewiring your entire system's response to love and kindness. For some people, this feels wonderful from the very first day. For others, it might feel uncomfortable or even bring up sadness or grief. Both responses are perfectly normal and healthy. Your body and mind are simply processing old patterns and making room for something new. The time has come for me to share with you the specific words that have transformed so many lives, including my own. After years of working with countless affirmations and positive statements, I've discovered that there's one phrase that seems to unlock everything else, one sentence that opens the door to all the love and abundance that's been waiting for you. The statement is this: I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. Now, I can almost feel some of you pulling back as you read those words. Part of you might be thinking, but that's not true, or I can't say that because I don't feel it, or there are too many things about me that need to change first. These responses are so natural, so human, and they actually show you exactly why this practice is needed. The beauty of this particular statement is that it doesn't ask you to feel anything different about yourself right away. It doesn't require you to suddenly believe you're perfect or that you don't want to grow and evolve. What it does is create space for you to exist exactly as you are in this moment while opening your heart to the possibility of self-love. The words "right now" are crucial because they remove the pressure to be anything other than what you are today. When you write, "I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am right now," you're not lying to yourself or trying to convince yourself of something that feels untrue. You're planting a seed of possibility. You're having a conversation with the part of yourself that has been waiting your entire life to hear these words. You're sending a message to your nervous system that it's safe to relax the constant vigilance, the endless self-criticism, the exhausting effort to be someone other than who you are. The word "deeply" is important because it speaks to something beyond surface-level acceptance. It acknowledges that true self-love isn't shallow or conditional. It goes all the way down to your core, to the essence of who you are beneath all the roles you play and all the masks you wear. Completely addresses the tendency we have to love ourselves in parts, to accept our kindness but reject our anger, to appreciate our successes but shame our failures. This word invites you to embrace your wholeness. Love and accept work together beautifully because they address two different aspects of self-relationship. Love is the warm, flowing feeling of care and affection. Acceptance is the peaceful acknowledgement of what is, without the need to change or fix anything. Sometimes you might feel more love than acceptance, sometimes more acceptance than love. Both are valuable, and both are part of the journey toward genuine self-compassion. For some people, this exact phrase will feel perfect from the very first day. For others, it might feel too big or too unfamiliar. If that's the case for you, you can modify it slightly while keeping the essence intact. You might write, "I am learning to love and accept myself exactly as I am right now," or "I am open to loving and accepting myself exactly as I am right now." The key is to find words that feel like a gentle stretch rather than an impossible leap. What makes this statement so powerful is that it addresses the root of almost every challenge we face in life. When you don't love and accept yourself, you look to others for validation. When you don't feel worthy, you settle for less than you deserve. When you're at war with yourself, you create conflict in your external world. But when you begin to cultivate genuine self-love and acceptance, everything starts to shift. You make better choices because you believe you deserve good things. You set healthier boundaries because you value your own well-being. You attract more loving relationships because you're no longer desperate for someone else to complete you. This practice works regardless of your spiritual beliefs, your background, or your current circumstances. It works for people who are just beginning their healing journey, and for those who have been on the path for decades. It works for people dealing with anxiety, depression, relationship challenges, financial stress, health issues, and every other human experience you can think of. This is because self-love and acceptance aren't luxuries or bonuses that some people get to enjoy. They're fundamental human needs, as basic as food and shelter and air. Now that you know what to write, let me guide you through exactly how to practice this in a way that will create the most profound and lasting change. The method is beautifully simple. but there are some important details that will help you get the most from this daily ritual. First, choose a time of day when you can have a few quiet minutes without interruption. For many people, the early morning works best because your mind is clear and receptive, and you can set a positive tone for the entire day. Others prefer the evening as a way to process the day's experiences and end on a note of self-compassion. There's no right or wrong time. What matters is consistency and choosing a time when you can be fully present. Find a special notebook or journal that you'll use only for this practice. It doesn't need to be expensive or fancy, but it should feel good in your hands and be something you enjoy looking at. This notebook will become a sacred container for your self-love practice, and over time, it will hold tremendous energy and meaning for you. Using the same notebook each day creates continuity and helps signal to your subconscious that this is important work. Sit somewhere comfortable where you feel safe and relaxed. This might be at your kitchen table, in a cozy chair, or even outside in nature if the weather permits. The location isn't as important as the feeling of being settled and at ease. Take a moment to breathe deeply and arrive fully in your body. This isn't about rushing through the practice to get it done. It's about creating a sacred pause in your day where you connect with yourself. Open your notebook to a fresh page and write the date at the top. This simple act helps you track your consistency and creates a beautiful record of your commitment to yourself. Then, write your chosen statement 10 times, focusing on one repetition at a time. Don't think about all 10, just focus on the one you're writing in this moment. As you write each repetition, try to really feel the words rather than just copying them mechanically. Let each word flow from your pen with intention. Notice if different repetitions bring up different feelings or sensations in your body. Sometimes the third repetition might feel different from the eighth. Sometimes you might feel resistance at the beginning and ease by the end. Sometimes you might feel emotional or surprised by what comes up. All of this is part of the process. Write slowly and deliberately. This isn't about speed or efficiency, it's about connection and presence. Let your handwriting be natural and relaxed. If your mind wanders, gently bring your attention back to the words you're writing. If thoughts come up like "this is silly" or "this isn't working," simply notice them and return to your practice without judgment. After you've written the statement 10 times, close your notebook and take a moment to sit quietly. You might want to take a few deep breaths or place your hand on your heart. Notice how you feel compared to when you started. Sometimes the shifts are subtle, sometimes they're more obvious. Both are perfectly valid. Some days this practice will feel flowing and natural. Other days it might feel forced or uncomfortable. Both experiences are normal and valuable. The key is to show up consistently, regardless of how it feels. Your commitment to this practice is actually a form of self-love in action. You're showing yourself that you matter enough to invest this small amount of time and attention each day. If you miss a day, don't use it as an opportunity to criticize yourself. Simply return to the practice the next day without drama or self-judgment. This isn't about perfection, it's about cultivation. You're growing something beautiful inside yourself, and like any garden, it needs regular tending but doesn't require you to be perfect. Now let's address something that almost everyone experiences when they begin this practice: resistance. Your mind has been thinking certain thoughts about you for years, maybe decades, and it's not going to welcome this new information without some pushback. This resistance isn't a sign that the practice isn't working. It's actually a sign that it is working, that you're reaching the edges of your current belief system and creating space for something new. The resistance might show up as thoughts like, "This is ridiculous," or "I don't have time for this," or "This is too simple to make any real difference." It might show up as forgetfulness. You might genuinely forget to do your practice even though you were committed to it the night before. It might show up as physical sensations, feeling restless or uncomfortable as you write, or wanting to rush through the repetitions to get them over with. Sometimes the resistance is more subtle. You might find yourself wanting to modify the statement to make it more realistic or honest. You might want to add qualifiers like, I love and accept myself except for, or I love and accept myself, but I really need to change. This tendency to water down the message comes from the part of your mind that's comfortable with the status quo, even if the status quo isn't particularly pleasant. Understanding why your mind resists positive change can help you work with the resistance rather than against it. Your subconscious mind's primary job is to keep you safe, and it defines safety as familiarity. If you've been thinking critical thoughts about yourself for years, those thoughts feel familiar and therefore safe to your subconscious, even though they're painful to your conscious mind. When you begin introducing thoughts of self-love and acceptance, your subconscious initially perceives this as dangerous because it's unfamiliar. This is why lasting change happens gradually rather than overnight. You're essentially training your subconscious to expand its definition of safety to include self-love and acceptance. This training happens through repetition, consistency, and patience. Each time you write those words, even when you don't fully believe them, you're showing your subconscious that it's safe to consider this new possibility. Another form of resistance that's particularly common is the feeling that you don't deserve to love and accept yourself until you've fixed everything that's wrong with you. This is perhaps the most heartbreaking form of resistance because it keeps you trapped in a cycle where self-love is always just out of reach. The truth is that self-love isn't something you earn through good behavior or perfect choices. It's your birthright, available to you right now, exactly as you are. When you notice resistance coming up, the most helpful thing you can do is acknowledge it with compassion. You might say to yourself, I notice I'm feeling resistant to this practice, and that's okay. This is just my mind trying to keep me safe in the old familiar patterns. I can feel this resistance and still choose to continue with my practice. This acknowledgement transforms resistance from an enemy to be fought into information to be received with kindness. Sometimes the resistance shows up as skepticism about whether such a simple practice could really make a difference. If you find yourself thinking this way, consider that some of the most profound changes in life come through simple, consistent actions rather than dramatic gestures. The oak tree doesn't grow from a tiny acorn overnight. It grows through years of steady, quiet development. Your self-love is the same way. As you continue with this practice day after day, you'll begin to notice changes that might surprise you. The shifts often start so gently that you almost miss them at first. You might find yourself pausing before saying something critical about your appearance in the mirror. You might notice that you're not apologizing quite as much for taking up space in the world. Perhaps you'll catch yourself speaking to yourself with a slightly kinder voice when you make a mistake. These early signs of transformation are like the first tender shoots of a plant breaking through the soil. They're small, delicate, and easy to overlook if you're expecting something dramatic. But they're also incredibly precious because they signal that something fundamental is shifting in your relationship with yourself. The harsh inner critic that has been running your internal dialogue for years is beginning to soften, making space for a more loving voice to emerge. One of the most beautiful changes that people report is a shift in their internal weather. Instead of waking up under a cloud of worry or self-doubt, they begin to experience moments of inexplicable peace. It's not that their external circumstances have necessarily changed, but their internal response to those circumstances starts to feel lighter, more spacious. Problems that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Challenges that once triggered immediate self-blame become opportunities for self-compassion. Your relationships with others often begin to shift in the most wonderful ways. When you're no longer desperately seeking validation from the outside world, you can show up more authentically in your connections with others. You might find yourself attracting kinder people, or you might notice that the people who are already in your life start treating you differently because you're treating yourself differently. The energy you carry changes, and others respond to that new energy. Many people are amazed to discover that opportunities begin appearing in their lives that seem almost too good to be true. A job opening that perfectly matches their skills becomes available just when they need it. Someone offers them exactly the help they were hoping for but were too afraid to ask for. They receive unexpected money or resources that allow them to take a step they've been wanting to take. These aren't coincidences, they're what happens when you align your internal state with love and acceptance. Your body often responds to this practice in ways that are both surprising and delightful. Chronic tension that you've carried for years might begin to ease. Sleep might become deeper and more restful. Energy levels often improve, not because you're doing anything different physically, but because you're no longer using so much energy to fight with yourself. Your immune system can function more effectively when your nervous system isn't constantly in a state of stress and self-attack. The way you handle challenges and setbacks starts to transform dramatically. Instead of immediately jumping to self-blame when something goes wrong, you might find yourself responding with curiosity or even compassion. You begin to see mistakes as information rather than evidence of your unworthiness. This shift alone can change the entire trajectory of your life because you become someone who learns and grows from difficulties rather than someone who gets stuck in shame and self-punishment. You might start noticing synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel like the universe is conspiring to support you. A book falls off a shelf at exactly the moment you need to read its message. A stranger says something that answers a question you've been pondering. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and they call you that same day. These moments of divine timing become more frequent as you align with self-love because you're more open to receiving the guidance and support that's always available. Your creativity often blossoms in unexpected ways. When you're not using all your mental and emotional energy to criticize yourself, that energy becomes available for more joyful pursuits. You might find yourself wanting to try something artistic that you haven't done since childhood. You might have ideas for projects or ventures that excite you in ways you haven't felt excited in years. This creative flowering is your authentic self emerging from beneath the layers of self-doubt and limitation. Financial abundance frequently begins to flow more easily, not through any external change in circumstances, but through a shift in your internal worthiness. When you truly believe you deserve good things, you make different choices. You might finally ask for the raise you've been deserving. You might start the business you've been dreaming about. You might invest in yourself in ways that create greater returns. Money is energy, and when your energy shifts towards self-love, money often follows. Once you've established a consistent practice and are beginning to see its fruits in your daily life, you might feel called to deepen the experience in ways that amplify the transformation even further. The basic practice of writing your statement 10 times a day is powerful enough to create profound change, but there are additional elements you can incorporate when you feel ready to expand your self-love practice. One beautiful way to deepen the practice is to add visualization as you write. After writing each repetition, close your eyes for a moment and see yourself embodying the truth of those words. Imagine yourself moving through your day with complete self-acceptance, making choices from a place of self-love, interacting with others from a foundation of inner security. These brief visualizations help bridge the gap between the words on paper and the felt experience of living those words. You can also experiment with varying the statement to address specific areas of your life where you're seeking greater love and acceptance. If you're struggling with body image, you might write, "I deeply and completely love and accept my body exactly as it is right now." If you're working through relationship challenges, you might write, "I deeply and completely love and accept myself in all my relationships exactly as I am right now." The key is to keep the essential structure while making it relevant to where you need the most healing. Adding feeling to your practice creates an even more powerful experience. As you write each repetition, try to generate the feeling of love and acceptance in your body. You might place your free hand on your heart, take deeper breaths, or simply soften your facial expression. Your subconscious mind responds more readily to feeling than to words alone. So when you can combine the written word with the felt sense of love, the practice becomes exponentially more effective. Some people find it helpful to create a small ritual around their writing practice. You might light a candle before you begin, play soft music, or start with a moment of gratitude. These elements aren't necessary, but they can help create a sense of sacredness around your practice that makes it feel special and important rather than just another item on your to-do list. Consider expanding your practice to include other forms of self-love and acceptance throughout your day. You might look in the mirror each morning and speak your statement out loud, making eye contact with yourself as you say the words. You might carry a small card with your statement written on it and read it silently whenever you need a reminder of your worth. You might record yourself saying the statement and listen to it during your commute or while exercising. Creating a comprehensive self-love practice might also include journaling about what comes up as you do this work. Some days you might want to write about the resistance you're experiencing. Other days, you might want to capture the shifts and changes you're noticing. This reflection deepens your awareness of the transformation that's taking place and helps you appreciate the journey you're on. The practice can also become a gateway to exploring other forms of self-care and self-nurturing. As you begin to truly believe that you deserve love and acceptance, you might find yourself naturally drawn to activities that support your well-being. You might start taking better care of your body, creating more beauty in your environment, or seeking out relationships and experiences that reflect your growing sense of self-worth. When this practice becomes as natural as breathing, when self-love and acceptance are no longer something you have to work at, but simply who you are, life takes on a completely different quality. You wake up each morning with a sense of inherent worth that doesn't depend on what you accomplish that day or how others respond to you. You move through challenges with grace because you know that your value isn't diminished by difficulties or mistakes. Living in this space of self-love creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. Your relationships become more authentic because you're no longer hiding parts of yourself out of shame or fear. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you're choosing from a place of alignment rather than desperation or the need to prove your worth. Your health improves because you're no longer at war with yourself, and stress becomes the exception rather than the rule. In this state of genuine self-acceptance, you become a gift to the world in ways you might never have imagined. When you're not constantly focused on your own perceived inadequacies, you have so much more love and attention available for others. You become someone who sees the beauty in people that they can't see in themselves. You become a living example of what's possible when someone chooses to love themselves unconditionally. The practice that once required discipline and intention becomes effortless. You find yourself naturally speaking to yourself with kindness. You automatically make choices that honor your well-being. You respond to setbacks with curiosity and compassion rather than self-attack. What once felt like swimming upstream now feels like flowing with the current of life. You begin to trust yourself in ways that transform decision-making from a source of anxiety into an expression of self-love. You know that whatever choices you make, you'll handle the consequences with kindness and wisdom. This trust allows you to take risks, try new things, and step into opportunities that you might have avoided when you didn't believe in your own resilience and worth. Your presence in the world becomes a source of healing for others, not because you're trying to fix or change anyone, but because you're living proof that transformation is possible. People feel safer around you because you've created safety within yourself. Your acceptance of your own humanity gives others permission to be human too. Your self-love becomes an invitation for others to love themselves. The magic you've been writing about and cultivating becomes the very fabric of your daily experience. Miracles stop feeling miraculous because they become natural expressions of a life aligned with love. Abundance flows easily because you know you deserve good things. Relationships flourish because you're no longer seeking completion from others. Health and vitality become your natural state because you're no longer fighting with the vessel that carries your soul through this world. My beautiful friend, as we come to the end of our time together today, I want you to know that everything you need to transform your life is already within you. The love you've been seeking from others has been waiting patiently in your own heart. The acceptance you've been trying to earn through achievements and good behavior is your birthright, available to you right now, exactly as you are. The practice I've shared with you today, writing, "I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am right now," 10 times each day, is not just a technique. It's a daily act of revolution against a world that profits from your self-doubt. It's a gentle rebellion against the voice that says you're not enough. It's a love letter you write to yourself every single day, reminding the deepest parts of your being that you are worthy of care, respect, and unconditional love. I know that some of you are feeling excited and ready to begin this practice immediately. Others might be feeling skeptical or afraid, wondering if it's really possible for you to love and accept yourself after years of criticism and rejection. Both responses are perfectly natural, and both are welcome here. Your willingness to even consider the possibility of self-love is already a step toward transformation. Remember that healing happens in layers, and transformation unfolds in its own perfect timing. Some days this practice will feel like the most natural thing in the world. Other days it will feel forced or uncomfortable. Both experiences are valuable and necessary parts of your journey. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust that love is always working in your life, even when you can't see or feel it. You don't have to become a different person to be worthy of love and acceptance. You don't have to fix everything about yourself before you're allowed to treat yourself with kindness. You don't have to wait until you feel perfect to begin this practice. You are enough right now, exactly as you are, to receive all the love your heart has been longing for. Start tomorrow. Start today. Start right now. Take out a piece of paper and write those beautiful words 10 times. I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. Feel them, breathe them, let them wash over you like warm sunlight after a long winter. This is your invitation to come home to yourself, to remember who you really are beneath all the stories and wounds and fears. You are so loved, dear one. You are so worthy. You are so enough. And magic truly does happen when you finally realize it's true.